Hey guys, this is Mara at the Green Hedgehog with my book review of After the Parch by Sheldon Greene. This was sent to me by the author in exchange for an honest review, which I am about to do. It's very honest. So, the synopsis. It's 2075. The USA has broken up and California has become an independent refuge dominated by a single omnipotent corporation. 18-year-old Bran, a shepherd, is given a mission to traverse the California Republic in 10 days in order to save his rural community from forfeiting its land. On the way, he teams up with a 17-year-old girl who has the skills and prowess of a warrior, an 11-year-old wild boy with uncanny survival skills, and a wandering musician with a secret revolutionary agenda. After the Parch is a fast-paced, vivid dystopian fantasy with a chilling resemblance to the way we are, and a vision of what we might become. It's a well-crafted story, and the plot flows naturally from one crisis to another, with three-dimensional characters right up to the taut and positive climax. After struggling through this book in 2 very, very, very long days, I gave this book, I did not give it 1 out of 5 strawberries. I gave it what I call the Special Awfulness Award, which means it was so bad it deserved something even lower than 1 out of 5 strawberries. I wouldn't even gift this to someone. I wouldn't even give this to an unsuspecting enemy. I would not give it to anyone, ever, at all. There are several reasons why I wouldn't give this book to anyone and why I hated it so much. One, and probably the least offending reason, is it's so boring. Nothing happens. I mean, the author has a couple of really good concepts, like at one point, Bran and his team come to this school where girls are trained to essentially be companions. They're a little bit like geishas, is in the fact that sexual stuff is not the only thing they do. They learn other stuff, but that is part of it. And that's actually where they end up meeting the 17-year-old girl, June. I think her name is June. It is, yes. And, that was actually kind of a good concept, but the school lacked complete menace. They were there and then it was gone. It had no role in the story, really. Another concept they had was, there was this group that, stole people and, sold them to others as a hired labor. And if the people were too old, they would kill them and harvest their organs, and then they would burn them and use their ashes as fertilizer. And that was a really cool concept, but like the other one, it didn't go anywhere. It was just there and then gone. I didn't care about any of the characters whatsoever. The synopsis lies. They're not 3-dimensional. They are 0.1 dimensional. They're not even 1-dimensional. They're 0.01. They have no dimension. But probably what frustrated me the most was the author was too busy talking about groins and how well shaped the girls' bottoms and things were that he completely abandoned world building. I'm not kidding. It's like he kind of assumed that if you'd read the synopsis that summed up the world building entirely, and he didn't need to explain in the actual body of the book. There's never any point where he actually explains there's this omnipotent one corporation that's controlling California. He mentions their name, but he doesn't say anything about them. He doesn't explain what caused this massive drought. He mentions, there was this earthquake and a nuclear power plant had a meltdown, and California was quarantined because of this massive outbreak of flu that wouldn't respond to any kind of vaccination or anything. But it never says whether or not any of these events are connected, and if they led to the drought. The drought just kind of happened, I guess. So there's no correlation between anything. Yeah, the world building just isn't there. The writing itself is actually not horrible. There were a couple of instances of similes that got me, this one in particular. So it's in the middle of dialogues. It's not important what they're saying. So it goes, "I sure try to," says Nicanor, with the embryo of a laugh. Maybe that works for some people, that did not work for me. It just produces the wrong kind of imagery. As far as agenda pushing goes, I was actually kind of surprised that there wasn't more of it, considering the author isn't a lawyer and an executive in a wind energy development company and all that kind of stuff. But no, the agenda pushing actually wasn't there because he was too busy writing about sex. And this was the biggest offender. This is considered young adult. I would not call it that. This is more like new adult, which kind of irritates me because I don't do new adult on my blog, and I got this book and I was expecting young adult and it was more new adult. It was very borderline graphic, if not total. I mean, it wasn't 50 Shades of Grey, but my understanding has been with sexual content in young adult books, you can have sexual content provided no body parts are mentioned. Well, the author does plenty of that. And he's talking about it all the time, and he takes on the approach of, well, it's just natural, there's no commitment, and it's just something. So the characters are sleeping together all the time. But what really disturbed me was the 11-year-old boy ends up sleeping with a girl, and it's not painted as something that's creepy or anything. It's painted as something that's natural. It's a learning curve. And that's just disgusting. It was horrible. I was totally disgusted by this book. It was just sleazy. I mean, every opportunity the author got to describe June's body, he did it. I mean, there was a lot of nudity in this book, and not always in a sexual manner, but it eventually led to that. So, yes, I did not like After the Parch. Special Awfulness Award. I would never recommend this to anyone. The writing is okay, but not worth reading. He doesn't seem to like the comma at all. The world building is completely not there. The characters don't exist. They have no personalities. The plot is so boring. It has no point whatsoever. They kind of follow along and run into a couple rebels, but the rebels don't really have a purpose, and then just kind of ends. And it's just totally sleazy. So I would not recommend this to anyone. I would not give it to anyone. I was extremely, extremely, extremely disappointed with this book. So yeah, if you want to read my review, because it goes even more in depth, I will link it below, and see you next time.